am here with Ray at his beautiful lab in Covington, Kentucky for Bexion, and I would love to hear the story about how you started this in the very beginning.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. So I came to the region after graduate school to Procter & Gamble and joined their pharmaceuticals organization pretty quickly, and kind of fell in love with that whole idea of helping people that way. And when P&G made the decision to get out of the pharmaceutical business, which was the right decision for them, I couldn't leave it. So I started looking for other opportunities, and what I came upon was technology from Cincinnati Children's Hospital. It looked like a researcher there had discovered, quite accidentally, anti-cancer properties of a protein that naturally occurs inside of all of us. And the data he had was early, but it was really interesting. And not knowing any better, I thought, well, maybe we could turn this into a drug and bring it into the clinic. So that was way back in 2006. And that's the journey of Bexion, is taking that idea, and now we're in later stage clinical trials, and the compound that emerged originally from those laboratories has proven itself to be even more interesting as we've learned more about it.
So for our audience's purpose, you took data and created a whole drug out of that, and it took this many years to create it, but now you're FDA approved and
we're not
moving.
FDA
Okay,
approved.
you're seeking approval.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're still in the clinic. The journey for a drug from discovery to commercialization varies, but pills are generally quicker to develop than biologics, which is like injectable type of compounds like ours. So and ours, and in sort of recognition of that, there are sort of patent laws that govern the intellectual property of these ideas, and they are the same regardless, but for compounds like ours, there's the FDA and the government provides sort of market exclusivity to sort of allow that longer development time. So pills, for example, could take about 10 to 15 years from discovery to market. Biologics like ours are generally more like 20 years, and 20 years is not, more than 20 years is not uncommon.
That's so cool. I was watching your video from the Innovation Theater, and you used the phrase comparing science to fashion. And I just want you to explain that a little bit about the Vogue to our audience. I really like that comparison.
Yeah, so scientists and medicine in general, I think, are, they're human inventions. And because of that, there is sort of trend setting and trend following. So there are good ideas, obviously, that come from scientists, and some of those ideas do prove themselves useful in the clinic. And as a lifelong scientist, you see this happening all over, right? We see grant money chasing the latest ideas. And that also happens in drug research. At any given time, some idea will be all in vogue and in fashion, and the companies around that idea will sort of, suddenly appear, and then they disappear. And it's kind of true with our COVID vaccines, for example. The technology that led to the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were originally being developed for cancer. And the nucleus of those ideas really are decades old. So 20 years ago, that kind of drug was very much in vogue. 30 years ago, very much in vogue. And large companies were spending large amounts of money trying to develop the idea, and basically they all went bust. But with this pandemic, the idea of those drugs came back up, and lo and behold, for all of our sakes, it actually worked for our benefit. And so those types of drugs are again back in vogue.
That's funny, the trends, the trends. So can you describe lysosome for me in terms that I might understand?
Yeah, so our drug was discovered by a researcher at Children's who was studying rare childhood diseases called lysosomal storage diseases. And they are very rare, fortunately. And there's many kinds of lysosomal storage diseases, but because it's rare, very few institutions really study them, and they can be fatal. But fortunately, at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, it's one of the larger research institutes, so they actually do have researchers studying lysosomal storage diseases. And so the active in our drug is a lysosomal protein. So the lysosomes are often called the trash bin of the cell. They're sometimes called the recycler of the cell. So cells are in and of themselves sort of living entities, right? Most people just think of a cell as having a nucleus and this pool of whatever. And the nucleus is the most important thing. Our DNA is the most important thing, and that's not true. Every piece of the cell is important. The nucleus does code genetic material, but that genetic material all by itself doesn't mean anything, right? It has to get translated into cell products and cell walls and everything that sort of sustains life. And part of that sustenance, part of that homeostasis, that well-being of the cell is because of the lysosome. So if you think about a human body, we have a heart, we have lungs, we have a stomach. And when our stomach is upset, we are in distress. Right? And the same thing is true in the lysosome, in the cell. If the lysosome goes bad, the entire cell will go bad. So maybe maybe a disease doesn't actually originate in the lysosome, but it will affect the lysosome. And that's true in cancer. So in cancer, because cancer cells have to grow quickly, that's one of the problems. They grow quickly and they grow in an aberrant fashion, right? They're rogue cells, they're not normal cells. They need to have a lot of building materials, and they need to metabolize nutrients very quickly. And so where are they getting those nutrients, right? They're getting them from other healthy cells. They're stealing them essentially from their environment. And therefore they're recycling material at a much faster rate. And these lysosomes that are kind of the trash bins and recyclers, they have to do double duty, triple duty, quadruple duty. And so you can see the lysosome under a microscope of a normal cell versus a cancer cell. And in a cancer cell, lysosomes are more abundant and they're also much bigger. And so we are under the presumption that because of that, they are an obvious target to go after if you want to treat cancer. So the lysosomes have essentially made themselves a target. Right? And in fact, they are running at such a fast rate that they are generally just on the edge of being stable. Like they're running at such a fast pace that they're asking for trouble. And so we kind of think of our drug as giving them that trouble.
Okay, nice, nice. So tell me, what's most innovative about BXQ350?
What I love about it, so my graduate education, my PhD is in chemistry, but really what I studied was origin of life and evolution of life. So I have a profound respect for us as human beings. Have, billions of years of evolution leading to us, and so we've, life has survived incredible hurdles to get here. I mean, if you think about our early Earth and everything that Earth has gone through, and yet, if we imagine that life started as a single cell somewhere, we evolved to this somehow. So we've sort of faced the kind of hurdles that are unimaginable. So that says to me that we do have machinery inside of us that has seen everything. And what I love about our approach to looking at cancer is that we're using a component of our body to bring us back into health. And so it's a little bit like insulin that way. Getting that product active and I think about the XQ350, our drug, in much the same way. Here we're using a natural protein to sort of help bring back
We have a mission as a group for innovative healthcare institutes to reduce disparities in healthcare. And it sounds like you are along those lines of that mission for sure. What does Bexion do to help reduce those disparities?
Yeah, so, when we started, we talked about how long this whole drug development process is. It is incredibly expensive. A lot of studies have been done on how expensive it is to make a drug, and $1 billion is not long. It's not accurate, but it's not long. Part of the cost for making a drug is it covers the cost of failures, and most drugs fail. Depending on how you want to look at the data, when it's 1,000, when it's 100, it depends on how far along the drug has gotten before it fails, that most drugs fail. And so drugs are expensive, partly because of that. And so I think that there are opportunities to look at disease in much the same way that we look at disease. Are there inherent abilities that can be capitalized in order to make a drug that are not necessarily man-made? And I don't know that we spend enough time thinking about drugs that way. I think we always think that we're kind of smarter than biology, and that we can outsmart biology. And that, I think, ultimately leads to a lot of failure, and therefore negatively impacting people. So what we want are treatments that sort of get their molecular
question for you is just if there's something that you would like to share with anybody about Bexion, about your work, and about this 2006 to 2021, this journey that you've been on. What can you share with us that is a little different from what we can just read in the paper? Tell us something personal about you and your journey that's exciting.
Yeah, so, I think that what's exciting about Bexion is that it's happening in a place that it's not typically known for doing what we do, right? I think Boston and the Bay Area are meccas for drug development, and thank heavens they are. A lot of good ideas are birthed there and percolating there, and many of the drugs that we have on the market are because of that. They're not necessarily coming from large companies, they're coming from startups. That's more true today than ever. And the Midwest, everything between, almost everything between California and the East Coast has been kind of looked at as a desert in terms of drug discovery and development. And yet, the reality is that we've got wonderful places of higher learning in the middle of the country, and we have lots of bright people who are making good discoveries here. So I'm hoping that Bexion will not be alone here in the region as time moves forward, and that a lot of those ideas coming out of places of innovation in the middle of the country will spawn more companies like ours and eventually lead to better drugs for the benefit of our population.
Well, you know how I feel about our area, and I truly believe that Cincinnati and the tri-state area can definitely be a healthcare hub of innovation for sure. And we have a lot of great things going on in this area, and Bexion always comes up as my #1 innovative in this area for sure. So thank you for sharing your space with us and your time, and I know you're busy, so I really appreciate it. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.